Okay, sit yourself onto your lift and come into a good cross-legged position. Let's have a little wiggle about, just make sure you're feeling evenly positioned on your seat bones. Hold onto your knees, elevate your heart area upwards, draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Take deep inhalations and deep exhalations, listen into the breath. Just fill in your lungs from the bottom to the top and empty in your lungs from the top to the bottom. Focus on long, slow, deep, deliberate breaths. Observing the rising and opening of the chest with the in-breath, and the lowering and relaxation of the chest with the out-breath. Bring your hands into Namaste, press the palms firmly together. And lengthen from your armpits into your elbows. And with an exhalation, allow your eyes to gently close. Just listen to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. Just focusing on the action of breath. Draw your chin down to meet your chest. Just spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone or somewhere. Hold on to that feeling of abundance in the heart area as you release the backs of the hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. Just connecting the tip of the index finger with the tip of the thumb. Just a gesture of wisdom and bodily intelligence and peacefulness that we can carry with us into our practice. And then gently raise your head and allow your eyes to softly open. Just hold onto your knees, lift up into your chest Elevating the heart area upwards, drawing the shoulders down. Take a deep inhalation in through the nose. And then turn to the right side, drawing your abdomen across your ribs and your shoulders. Just listen to the breath. Use your out breath to gently intensify the turn. And then come back to the center. Hold onto your knees, lift up into your chest, and then turn to the left. Using your out breath to intensify the turn gently. Focusing on long, slow, deep, deliberate breaths. And then come back to the center. Just come off your lift and just sit back on your heels. And we're going to go into Adho Mukha Virasana. So if you're avoiding forward bends, you can do supta, baddangulyasana, lay on your back with your feet together, your knees apart, otherwise reach up into the chest, come forward, stretching the arms forwards. And then bring the forehead down. So you can always use a block underneath your head. Draw the tailbone down towards the floor. Lift up into your chest. Focusing on long, slow, deep, deliberate breaths. Just listen to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. And then release your arms, just bring the arms to the sides of the body and allow the body to rest in the child's pose for a moment. If there's too much weight on your head, just stretch your arms out again. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Listening to the breath. To avoid too much weight on the head, lengthen consciously from the shoulders into the fingertips. And then come up. Bring your hands as wide apart as your mat. Turn your toes under. And then come up into dog down. Pressing the palms into the floor. Tightening the kneecaps, lifting the thighs. Pressing the fronts of the knees through to the backs of the knees, turning the fronts of the thighs inwards. Just listen to the breath. Listen to the inhalation and the exhalation. And then walk your feet forwards, come up into a standing position and get some blocks for your hands for half uttanasana. Bring your feet as wide apart as the mat and just align the edge of your feet with the edge of the mat so that your toes are turning inwards a little. Lift up into the chest. Elevate the heart area up, squeeze the elbows together and then hinge at the hips. Lifting the seat bones, lifting the chest. Beyond your fingertips. Lift the seat bones, project the chin and the chest forwards. If you can go down any lower, then do projecting the chin and the chest forwards. Listening to the breath, pushing the fronts of the legs through to the backs of the legs, the fronts of the knees through to the backs of the knees, projecting the chin and the chest forwards. If you can reach all the way down to the floor without losing the extension of the legs or the chest, then do. Just observing how your body feels right now within the pose and responding to that, responding to areas of dullness, responding to areas of resistance. If you can reach around the backs of your heels, drawing yourself in to the gap between the legs, but not at the expense of losing the extension or overworking your back. And then bring your hands into your hips and come up into a standing position. Okay, just be in Tadasana, have the inner edge of your feet together, big toes together, your heels together, and then just come into your lifted chest, stretched arms, your standing pose where you're lifting from your feet into the shins, into the kneecaps, into the thighs, into the chest. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Just stretch your arms behind you, squeezing an imaginary box of air. And lifting up into the heart, keeping the chest area really broad, squeezing that imaginary box of air. Just working to keep the collarbone broad. Chest open but not gripped, so give the muscles space to expand in the chest. And then release the arms, bring your arms out nice and wide in towards your chest, and then step or jump your feet apart, turn your left toes in, your right leg and foot all the way out, facing the front, and then come over into trikonasana. Just breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Spending some time in the pose just to observe it, to observe the position of the physical body. Observe the position of the body that the eyes can't see. So aligning the hips with the heels, lifting the chest, turning the abdomen to the ceiling. Come back to the centre, swap the feet around, turn the right toes in, left leg and foot all the way out, and then reach over to the left. Soften the jaw and the tongue and the throat. And then come back to the centre, bring the feet parallel, and then step or jump your feet back together. Come back into Tadasana, lift up into the chest. Just breathe even, deep inhalations and exhalations. Focusing on long, slow, deep, deliberate breaths. Filling the lungs with the energy of the breath, filling the head with the energy of the breath. Stretch your arms out in front, interlock the fingers, turn the palms all the way up, all the way out even, and then stretch your arms up to the ceiling. Keeping your arms outstretched, squeezing the outer elbows in. Come back to the centre, just swap the interlock of the fingers, turn the palms all the way out, and then raise your arms over your head. And then release, just stretch your arms down, turn your palms all the way out, lift up into the chest. And then release, just come down onto your back and have a bolster, or if you haven't got a bolster you can use some cushions. Have a bolster in for your back, and then have a pillow underneath your head. So the bolster, if we come into supta baddangulyasana, the bolster will broaden out the abdomen region, the rib cage, and the shoulder blades. Not the shoulder blades, sorry, and the collarbone. So come down onto your back, just broaden the abdomen and the chest, and then just rest your hands on the floor to the sides of the body. And focus on just filling the lungs from the bottom to the top and emptying them from the top to the bottom. If there's stiffness in your hips, then have blocks underneath your thighs, the outsides of the thighs. Otherwise, just use the floor. Just feel this openness, this broadness across the abdomen, across the diaphragm region, the feeling of opening that the bolster provides, the opening of the collarbone that the bolster provides. So listen to the breath. Listen to the in-breath and the out-breath. And then raise your arms to the ceiling, stretch your arms up to the ceiling. And again, interlock your fingers, turn your palms all the way up to the ceiling, keeping the little fingers interlocked as much as you can. Squeeze the outer elbows in towards each other, and then lengthen your arms along the bolster, just feeling the bolster opening up the chest. Taking deep, just soft breaths, but consciously deep. So not overworking the breath, just allowing the breath to be natural. And feeling that the front of the body can open up. The front of the body becomes open to energy. Just bring your arms back up. Swap the interlock of the fingers so that you do the unnatural interlock. Turn the palms all the way out, and then just gently bring your arms along the bolster. So of course your arms aren't going to reach the floor because you're on the bolster. If it's stiff in your shoulders, you can put some blocks underneath your hands. Otherwise, just let the arms just hang in the air, just working to open up the shoulders. Just maintain that sensation of soft inhalation, but with purpose, filling the lungs from the bottom to the top. Emptying the lungs from the top to the bottom. So not allowing the pose to become too passive. Keep the feet pressing consciously together. Lengthen from the feet into the knees, into the hips, into the armpits, into the elbows, into the wrists, into the palms. release your arms. Just let your arms rest on the floor for a moment. Breathe even deep inhalations and exhalations. And then push your elbows into the floor and then bring yourself up. Just come into cross legs. Just lift the chest, draw the shoulders down away from your ears. Just observe the energy that the opening of the chest brings to the body and the mind. And then sit yourself up on the bolster. Sit on your bolster and then just come into cross legs. Just hold on to your knees and elevate the heart area upwards again, really lifting and opening. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Just fill in the lungs. And then with an exhalation, turn to the right side, drawing your abdomen across your ribs. If sitting on the bolster you feel that it's difficult to dig the backhand into the floor, then use a block for your hand so that you can maintain the lift of the chest as you turn. Because the more you lift and open, the more you can turn. And then come back to the center. Hold onto your knees, lift up into your chest, and then turn to the left. Drawing your abdomen across again, using a block for your hand. You're struggling to reach the floor with that back hand so that you can maintain the lift of the chest. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. And then gently come back to the center. Just sit directly on the floor, but have the bolster in front of you, or whatever you're using as your bolster. Have the bolster out in front of you and have your feet wide apart. So bring the feet apart and then have your bolster out in front. So we're going to come forwards with the bolster. Now the bolster might not be high enough. So if that bolster doesn't feel like it's high enough, then put some blocks underneath the bolster, and then as you come forwards you can stretch forwards. So the bolster is there just to give us some support in a forward bend. If you've got a bad back, this, as long as you can lift up into the abdomen and come forward, your back should be okay. But just be careful if it doesn't feel like it's right for your back, then just stay at this stage, just lifting up into the chest. So just bring your hands to the sides of the hips, lift up into your chest. If your bolster still feels like it's miles away, before we go forwards, if your bolster still feels like it's miles away when it's kind of in this configuration, then what you could do instead is just have one block close to the body, like laying on its edge like that, and then the other block like that. Can you see that on the screen? Yeah. So the higher block in front, and then you create this little ramp, and then coming forwards is probably much more possible. So let's all just do the ramp if you've got the blocks to do that with. So have the hands at the sides of the hips, lift up into the chest, lift the abdomen consciously towards the diaphragm region, and keep the head lifted. Come forwards, driving the chin forwards, keeping the hands behind you to start off with, just lengthening into the chest, and then reach the hands out in front. And then see, can you bring your head down? If you can't bring your head down, use a folded blanket just to kind of support your head. So it's just a little forward bending uttanasana, but it's quite open in the groins. It's lifting in the chest. So as soon as you feel the lower ribs sinking into the abdomen, then lift the lower ribs away from the abdomen. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Smile. Release the jaw. Release the tongue. Release the throat. Keep the legs firmly engaged. Pressing the legs into the floor. Tightening the kneecaps. Turning the inner knees towards the ground. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. If this is restricting your breath, then just come out of the pose and just sit upright. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. And then bring your hands back, and then just walk yourself back so that you sit on the seat bone, on the front edge of the seat bones. Bring the hands behind you, lift up into the chest. Just breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. And then move the bolster and the blocks, and then bring the feet into baddangulyasana. Bring the soles of the feet together, hold onto the big toes if you can, or use the belt underneath your feet if you struggle to take hold of the toes. And then lift up into the chest, lifting the abdomen towards the diaphragm, towards the collarbone. Keeping the shoulders down, keeping the chest lifted. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. And then, if you can gently come forwards, but keeping the head lifted, keeping the chin and the chest lifted. If it's uncomfortable, then just stay at that first stage. So you can let go of the feet and stretch forwards, or just stay at the first stage, just working to lift and open the chest. And then gently come back to the center, and then bring the feet into swastikasana or half padmasana, whichever feels right for you. Hold onto the knees, lift up into the chest, draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Just breathing even Deep inhalations and exhalations. Get a couple of blocks for the sides of your hips for sukhasana, for our side stretch. And then reach underneath the right knee with the right hand. Bring the elbow directly underneath the shoulder. That's really important because we're creating a triangle from the left hip up into the right shoulder, down into the right elbow, across to that left hip. And that across is really important. So try and press that left seat bone firmly down by pushing that right elbow firmly into the floor and stretching across. Turning the chest up to face the ceiling and then reaching up and over. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. And then come back to the centre. Hold onto your knees, lift up into your chest, and then reach underneath the left knee, bringing that left elbow onto the floor. Again, thinking of that triangle, that right angle triangle, lengthening from that left elbow across to the right seat bone, so that right seat bone remains evenly weighted with the left. And then reach up and over, pressing that right seat bone down into the floor. And then gently come back to the centre. Hold onto your knees and elevate the heart area up to the ceiling, drawing your shoulders down. And then gently turn into the right, just nice and gently. Come back to the centre. Hold onto your knees and then turn to the left. And then just gently come back to the centre. And then we're going to just finish with, again, we're going to use our bolster, the blanket for your head, just to give you a little pillow. And then we're going to just keep the legs outstretched. So look, keeping the legs outstretched, keeping the bolster underneath you. So again, you're broadening out in the abdomen and in the chest. You can take your glasses off if you're wearing them. And just observe the feeling of the breath as it enters and as it exits. Just observe how the body feels. If it's uncomfortable in your back, for example, then just make sure that the bolster isn't jamming into your lumbar. Just give yourself a little space. this is known as the heart pose in restorative yoga. It's a really good way of just allowing the body to really fill the chest with positive energy. Just focus on filling the lungs from the bottom to the top. And emptying the lungs from the top to the bottom. Just allowing the breath to be natural. Just observe how much easier it is to fill the lungs when the chest is lifted and open in this way. Just push your elbows into the floor, lift yourself up, lifting your chest first. Just remove the bolster from underneath you. Have a blanket from underneath your head, and then just put the bolster underneath your knees. And then just guide yourself down onto the floor. Just again feeling the difference in the breath, but finding that openness you had when you were using the bolster. Just let the arms and the legs completely relax into the floor, letting the body become heavy. And out of that heaviness comes an energetic lightness. It radiates from the bones into the muscles, into the organs, into the flesh and the skin. Just distributing that feeling of energetic lightness evenly down into the toes, into the fingers, and up into the top of the head. Just filling the body and the mind with positive energy of the breath. And then when you're ready to disturb yourself, just wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers, bend your knees, bring your feet onto the bolster, have your feet apart, your knees together. And draw your knees in towards your chest, just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just a gentle massage on the spine. And then roll over onto the right side, just stay down for a breath or two. And then straighten out the top leg, come back up into a seated position. Just come into cross legs with your hands in the masti. Fill in the lungs from the bottom to the top. Emptying your lungs from the top to the bottom. Just observe the energy that you have released through your practice this morning, that good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the extensions and the forward bends and the twists and the inversions bring to the body and to the mind. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Just spend a moment to seek to acknowledge the positive energy you have created inside, and then to send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then release the backs of your hands down towards your knees, palms facing upwards. Bringing the tip of the index finger with the tip of the thumb. And then raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. So hopefully you feel that you have really lifted your energy, giving yourself lots of good positive energy to put into your day. So thank you very much for joining me.